What's going on, guys? Welcome to Comic Island. My name is Joey and this is part 2 to my last video, DC Rebirth issue 1. So if you haven't watched that video yet, then I suggest you save this video and come back to it right after you finish the original video. I'll have a link to the video in the description below. Okay, you guys still with me? I'm going to discuss the events in the comic book as if you already caught up. Okay, let's jump into the first scene. Our narrator goes through his life from youth to hero, but we get images of the internal workings of a watch. That's a huge clue to the character that we will discuss in a bit. But so the narrator is revealed to be none other than Wally West from the pre-New 52. This causes a huge paradox because we already have a Wally West with a different skin color. But we will get into that a little later. So this scene is all about Batman and the Joker. Now if you've been following us, then you will know the entire story of the Darkseid War. If you don't, well, to keep things simple and short, Batman asked the Mobius chair for the identity of the Joker. It replied, "There are 3. So this basically breaks continuity and anything else that it can break because of the simple fact that the New 52 Batman is shown the Golden Age Joker, and the Joker from the standalone story arc called The Killing Joke, which is arguably one of the best Joker stories ever. And the third image makes sense because, well, this is the most recent incarnation of the Clown Prince, which we saw in Batman Endgame. Link in the description if you haven't watched our complete story to that yet. So continuing on, one Joker is on his way to Arkham while the other Joker is wreaking havoc in another city. The third isn't talked about much, so could this mean that the third Joker is dead following the events of Batman Endgame? We also saw a man eerily similar to the Joker in Scott Snyder's Batman issue 48, so could this be the first or the second Joker? How about during the Darkseid War, during Wonder Woman's narration, she recalls the Greek god who laughs during chaos and death. That would insinuate that the Joker is a god of some sort. But hey, remember the time when the Joker stole the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk? Yeah, I probably butchered the name, but the Joker basically was a god. One of the most popular theories right now is that one of the Joker is the comedian from Watchmen, but this is digging deep into spoiler territory, so I'll save the heavy spoiler talk for later. But the true reveal is that we, as the fans, are teased with the true identity of the Joker. I honestly don't recall any DC story that would reveal his identity. The closest would be The Killing Joke. Fans are split in two about this subject. Would you like to know the identity of the Joker, or would you rather it be kept a secret? For me, personally, I would rather it be kept under lock and key. Honestly, I could talk for hours about this subject, but we got a lot of ground to cover. But if you want me to go in depth about my thoughts on the 3 Jokers, please let me know in the comments below. With enough requests, maybe I can make a video on that. Okay, next scene. So now it's established that pre-New 52 Wally West will be our guide through this. We see a bit of his personal history from regular human to taking on the Flash's identity after Barry dies. Wally brings us to the home for the elderly. To be honest, I'm not familiar with the comics older than 1990s, so I had to do some research. This is what I dug up. This man is Johnny Thunder from the Justice Society of America. Now the JSA was basically written out of continuity when the New 52 began. Somehow this man, Johnny Thunder, is still kicking it, and somehow he remembers his past life. Well, way before I was in diapers, Johnny Thunder found a genie named Thunderbolt who turned him into a hero. Before Wally left, he told Johnny to use the genie and find his old teammates. Now that's the thing, is the Justice Society around in the New 52? Johnny is, so I wouldn't be surprised if the JSA reforms and will aid the DC heroes against this mysterious villain. Now, on to the next scene. We are now shown the face of this woman, but she claims to be from the future. She knows that Superman will live well past the death of the New 52 Superman, so is she talking about pre-New 52 Superman? Or is she saying that the New 52 Superman will somehow return to life? Are you confused? I sure as hell am. I'm kidding. There are currently 2 Clark Kents that I'm referring to, and I'll go into depth about this in a few moments. But let's continue on to the scene. She has a Legionnaire ring. That basically tells us she is from the future, or is part of the Legion of Superheroes. The ring has time travel abilities. That explains how she got to the past. Now, my best guess is that this woman is Saturn Girl. The Legion's founding member consists of 2 guys and a girl. Well, Saturn Girl is blonde, check, and she obviously owns a Legion ring, check. Well, what does this all mean? It's not just the present at stake now. From our visit to Johnny Thunder and Saturn Girl, the past and the future will be pulled into this. And if the 3 Jokers are somehow linked to parallel Earths, then the multiverse is at stake as well. So, we move on to the Atom. In this case, we got 2 guys. Ray Palmer, who you guys may know from the CW show Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, and Ryan Choi, who became the Atom pre-New 52. I'm not the biggest fan of the Atom, but I do appreciate his presence when he's around. But DC is bringing both Atoms back into the New 52, so what could this all mean? Well, Rebirth is all about bringing back past stories and characters that work well, while amalgamating the cinematic universe and the TV universe into one. But let's look at this through the eyes of our heroes. Palmer says that he is somewhere stuck in the microverse, or the nanoverse, or even the Palmerverse, whichever you want to call it, and he is hinting on discovering something big. If we follow the tone of this comic book, then we gotta assume that this mysterious being that stole 10 years from the heroes, causing the New 52, is somehow affecting everything down to the microscopic level. This could open up a world of great stories to be told, and I'm quite excited for the change. So now we move on to my favorite scene from DC Rebirth issue 1. We get reintroduced to Ted Kord, the original non-powered Blue Beetle, and his successor, Jaime Reyes. Same as the Atom, I never really got into Blue Beetle comics, but I got a ton of exposure to this character outside of comic books, such as Jaime's appearance in Smallville, Batman Brave and the Bold, Young Justice, and his newest appearance in the Justice League vs. Teen Titans. Ted Kord also made numerous appearances as well, and the last I heard anything Kord related was the very beginning of Forever Evil, where Lex Luthor tried to strong-arm Ted Kord's father to buying Kord Industries. Ultraman nearly kills Luthor in his wake, so the whole Kord concept stayed in the backdrops, but let's get it back into DC Rebirth. We now also get the first appearance of Dr. Fate. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Dr. Fate only present in Earth 2 comics? If so, then where has Dr. Fate been all this time? And what does it mean by the Scarab being dark magic? I much prefer the origin of the Scarab being alien-based from the very hostile race called the Reach. The next scene shows us Jessica Cruz having a small conversation with Hal Jordan about her new partner, Simon Baz, carrying a gun. I love me some good old buddy cop storyline, and this has a making of a great classy beginning, where two partners despise each other, but learn to work and respect each other at the end. But let's focus on Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. Notice how he isn't raggedy looking anymore? Well, he is somehow back with the Green Lanterns after DC Rebirth. If you've been following Hal Jordan's journey, then you know he's been through a ton, so I don't know how I feel about him returning to the core. I actually quite enjoyed him being a rebel renegade, using an archaic Green Lantern mechanism in replace of his Green Lantern ring, but that's just my opinion. So this next scene is a doozy. Pandora is said to herald the New 52. She was the prime focus during the Trinity War, and her box allowed the crime syndicate to cross over, causing Forever Evil. Heck, she was in every single first issue of the New 52. But then she went silent for a while, only to resurface now and get disintegrated by an unknown assailant. Following the tone of this comic, we can safely assume that the killer is this mysterious man that stole 10 years from us, or somehow connected to him. We also know that this entity is vastly powerful, but to be able to kill Pandora that easily? Damn, the heroes are going to be in trouble. Okay, next scene. We see Grail talking to her father child about Diana's twin brother. After the Darkseid War ended, we found out that Jason, the twin brother, is out there, and he is someone we've already met. The Darkseid War was just spectacular, so it's no surprise that DC would want to continue it, but this time, it will be the hunt for Jason, Diana's twin brother. Now, this scene got me really excited. The most iconic hero in DC is arguably a tie between Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. Well, we all know that Batman is just awesome, and he is my favorite superhero. But I love how DC brought back pre-New 52 Superman into the New 52. It's very convoluted, so I'll skip the details unless you guys want me to make a video dedicated to that. But let's focus on the main story at hand. New 52 Superman is dead, killed when he went up against Vandal Savage. And he died in this exact place. So this panel with some of the world's finest heroes mourning over the New 52 Superman just gave me chills. But that was not the point of this issue. This scene is dedicated to an epic love story between the Black Canary and the Green Arrow, a love story that was completely absent during the New 52. This couple ranks pretty high for me as one of my favorite superhero couples, so I think DC is going in the right direction when they chose to bring back their love story. But in a story point of view, somehow these two are feeling how they felt pre-New 52. Lost emotions are returning to them, and they don't know why. This could open up a ton of possibilities, and it actually has been already explored in Titans Hunt, where we see the original Teen Titans somehow starting to remember who they were. This is an excellent read, and I recommend checking it out if you haven't done so yet. The ending leads directly into the first few pages of DC Rebirth. Okay, we move on to talking about my favorite thing to happen to DC Comics in the last little while. The return of the original pre-New 52 Superman. This was a square-jawed Man of Steel who went toe-to-toe with Doomsday. No, not that Doomsday. This Doomsday! This OG spiked-bodied monster that did what no one else could do. Kill Superman. Now, if you don't know what's going on in this scene, well, let me tell you. DC Convergence reintroduced to us pre-New 52 Superman and his wife Lois Lane, who is pregnant with their soon-to-be son. If you remembered the tone of Convergence, then you would remember how Telos pitted a city against another city, plucked from different parallel universes. Well, it's pre-New 52 Superman versus Flashpoint characters, but at the end, Thomas Wayne was a doctor who brought the son of Superman himself into the world. And at the end of the Convergence, we see Superman and his family venturing off into the New 52 world. And the story continues in Superman, Lois, and Clark. Now, if you're a fan of Superman, then stop what you're doing right now and pick up this short series if you haven't read so yet, but let's assume you've read it and we skip to present day. Clark's son Jonathan is reaching his teenhood, and he is starting to discover superpowers of his own. From the promo pictures, we know he is going to be teaming up with Damian Wayne, and probably somehow reform a new Teen Titans group. But who is this man? He calls himself Mr. Oz. If you haven't been reading the spoilers online yet, then get ready to be spoiled. The Watchmen is coming into the DC universe, and my best guess, and keep in mind that this is pure speculation, is this man is Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, the villain of the Watchmen movie. Now, what's more interesting is what he said about nothing is what it seems. He's referring to Clark and his family, and also the New 52 Superman. There are tons of theories online as to what he means by this, but everything is a wild speculation at this point. Bleeding Cool released a really great post about why they think that Mr. Oz is Ozymandias. I'll have a link in the description below if you guys want to check it out. Okay, so on to the next scene. I was really surprised at this actually. I read quite a bit of Aquaman stories back in the day, and I loved his New 52 run. I stopped somewhere when he found Hercules in hell. I think I lost interest when Forever Evil began, but the love between Princess Mira and Arthur Curry is the stuff of legends. If you don't know, then allow me to give you a quick recap. Mira, princess of a fallen underwater city called Zebel, is sent to kill the king of Atlantis. Instead of carrying out her duties, she found out that Arthur wasn't the villain of the story, and well, they fell in love. He commands the inhabitants of the ocean, and she is a powerful sorceress able to control water, both royalties in their own right, and now they're getting married. I mean, sure, it's not as epic as the marriage between Lois and Clark, but I'm still digging this scene. I did thought that Arthur might get a complete makeover to resemble this guy. But this might work out better. Okay, so next scene. We meet a young Linda Park, Wally West's love interest. This scene is a great build-up, and it shows us exactly how much pain Wally must be going through, and it enforces the urgency and doom that is lurking over the horizon. This scene gives him even more conviction than ever, and it builds up to when he finally gets reunited with Barry Allen. By the way guys, if you want to see DC Rebirth through Barry Allen's eye, then pick up the Flash Rebirth right now. Everything is interconnected, and I love it! But this scene actually pulls my heartstrings, and I know that there are tons of Wally West fans out there. So there you have it. DC gave us our original Wally West back and gave him a center-focused one-shot. DC brought back what worked in the past, but even though it explains how there are two Wally West now, how is it going to play out? New 52 Wally didn't get much of a warm welcome because, well, everyone was expecting pre-New 52 Wally. But because of the CW's The Flash TV show, maybe we can give this new speedster a break. So I'm going to wait a year or two to see if New 52 Wally stacks up, and I can't wait to see how these two will coexist in this new world. Oh, and if comics isn't confusing enough, now if someone asks you why are there two different skinned Wally West, how are you guys going to explain this to them? Okay, so moving on to the Batcave scene. Batman finds a comedian's pin in his cave. This is the ultimate reveal, and the characters of the Watchmen are coming to the DCU. This also spawns a theory that one of the Joker's identity is the comedian from the Watchmen. My only exposure to the franchise is from the movie, and even though it's enjoyable, I doubt that the comedian is one of the Jokers. But then again, let's look at it a little deeper. The Joker doesn't have any special powers. Same goes for the comedian. We could argue that the comedian is dead, but then this is comics we're talking about. The Joker has died a few times. In Endgame, Joker is almost seen as a character that has lived through the ages. He died and came back and, well, died again at the end of Endgame. But then this guy has an eerie resemblance to the Joker, and is seen talking to Bruce Wayne at the park bench, both guys suffering from memory loss. There is another theory that the Joker is simply one man that is suffering from multiple personalities. And the Killing Joke storyline really digs deep into this possibility. This is such a hot topic for me, and I'm moving away from the point of this video, so let's get back on track. The end gives us a conversation between two guys. It's safe to assume that the first person talking is Adrian Veidt, aka Ozymandias. He says, "I did the right thing, didn't I? It all worked out in the end." Well, this statement further backs up the possibility that Mr. Oz is Ozymandias. Mr. Oz is clouded in mystery, and he is seen as the guy that trains New 52 Superman, and is basically a puppet master pulling the strings. By the way, I had to reread Superman issue 32. Who is Mr. Oz talking to behind these humongous iron doors? Dr. Manhattan? I hope we get a reveal to this scene. Oh, and if you need more evidence that this second speaker is Dr. Manhattan, then pay attention to the internal mechanisms of the clock in the background. Dr. Manhattan's father is a watchmaker. The scene also brings us to Mars, where Dr. Manhattan goes to find peace, kind of like his own fortress of solitude. And finally, the saying, "Nothing ends, nothing ever ends." This quote is pulled directly from the mouth of Dr. Manhattan. Even the Silk Spectre quotes this line on behalf of Dr. Manhattan in the movie. So, there you have it. Dr. Manhattan is a prime suspect for murdering Metron, Owlman, and Pandora. He's probably the guy with the gigantic hand reaching out of the void, and he is indeed the one that stole 10 years from everyone and causing the aftermath of the Flashpoint. So we're led to believe that everyone we are reading is the exact same person as pre-New 52, minus 10 years. But now here's the thing. The Convergence event proves that New 52 and pre-New 52 are different universes, and we have a New 52 Superman that is similar but at the same time very different from his pre-New 52 counterpart. Heck, they are already living in the same world. Yeah, you are seeing this clearly. Darkseid's first invasion, pre-New 52 Superman, was there all along. He would have jumped in and aided the heroes if they somehow failed to fight off Darkseid's invasion. This scene is just bursting with awesomeness, and at the same time, it's a little confusing. So, there you have it, my coverage of DC Rebirth. I think DC is moving in the right direction because it's been 5 years since the New 52, and the fans didn't respond too well at all to the reboot. They tried creativity over continuity with DCU, but I think they nailed it this time with DC Rebirth. And it does help a ton knowing that one of my all-time favorite writer, Jeff Johns, is leading DC into a new beginning. I get asked this question every once in a while. Marvel or DC? One year it could be Marvel, but next year it could be DC. I love both companies, and as you guys can see from our coverage of Secret Wars, we love what Marvel did with their event. But then all new, all different Marvel started, and I didn't feel a strong connection to it. Sure, we got Civil War 2, which Arden is covering currently right now, and I still have yet to cover the Apocalypse War this year. DC is really coming out strong with DC Rebirth. So now I'm torn. I have plans to cover the Apocalypse War, but at the same time, I want to talk about DC Rebirth. In a perfect world, I would love to cover both, but I'm afraid I might have time for only one. So that's my question for you. Should I continue with the Apocalypse War or jump ship to DC Rebirth? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another Comic Island video.